What's up? It's your boy Dre B. Rambo coming with a new episode. Thank you for joining in. Please sit back, relax, grab yourself something to drink. We're going to get into it today. Talk about all the crazy shit that's going on out there happening in the world today. Yes, sir. It is a crazy time to be alive. We're in the 2025s and let's get down to it. So, I haven't been on, but I've been wanting to come on and talk about some of the obvious stuff that's been going down. One of the major things, obviously, is Charlie Kirk, which I would consider the murder or killing or assassination, whatever you want to call it. But just the killing of a dude who just had ideas and just wanted to talk to people and try to bring people together. Now, I understand he didn't always say things, that were kosher, for lack of a better word. Sometimes he said things that struck a chord with people. But I think a lot of times too, he was a guy who was misunderstood, and bottom line, obviously, dude shouldn't have been murdered for having ideas and things like that. I actually kind of liked the dude. I didn't watch too much of his content, but I was aware of who he was and what he was about. So there's a lot of shocking things with that. The crazy thing about that for me, that when that happened on that day, is it just happened to be a day where I decided to download the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, and I wanted to check it out. And just I had it downloaded earlier that morning. Hadn't really watched anything on it, and then my wife had texted me and said, "Hey, dude, they shot Charlie Kirk." And I was like, for real? I was like, what the fuck? So then I went on to X, and sure enough, I was surprised that they had the actual video of it. It didn't even look, it was surreal. I mean, dude got shot in the neck. You could see the blood coming from his body, and, he looked like a dude. He looked like I knew right away when I saw that gunshot wound that he was not going to make it. That was not something that you were going to come back from. That was a 100% kill shot. And ironically, they got him in the throat. I heard some talk about how, if it was a skilled marksman and all that kind of thing, or like a guy, like a hit job by like the government or the CIA or Israel or whatever, that it would have been the head or the heart, right? But I thought it was ironic that he was killed and shot in the throat, which with such precision and for the purpose of shutting him up. And if you're going to shut somebody up, you're going to shoot him in the throat, right? You're not going to shoot him in the head, you could, obviously, but it was, for lack of a better term, it was ironic that they shot him, whoever shot him here. I know that we got a guy in custody, and that's the dude that is going to go down for murdering Charlie. At this point stage, though, there's obviously a lot of conspiracies going around about who did it. Was it Israel? Was it whoever? But for me, the problem that I have with this whole thing, obviously, it's tragic that a man died simply for having ideas and shot in front of his family and wife and kids, no less, in front of hundreds or possibly even thousands of people at that event. In broad daylight. The thing that really gets to me is the whole point behind that. Now, some people might say, "Oh, it was a senseless killing." No, it wasn't senseless. It was on purpose. It was for a purpose. It was done to shut him up. It was, I don't like what you're saying, and I'm going to shut your mouth by murdering you. And for me, it hits hard because I believe in the right to free expression. It's a core belief that I think many of us share as Americans. If you don't share that belief, you should, because we are one, if not the only country that has a First Amendment right to free speech. It's the First Amendment for a reason. It was put there by our forefathers because they knew how important it was to have dialogue. How important it was for people to be able to say what they want to say, whatever ideas that they have, political beliefs, be able to associate with someone. Another one of our rights, the freedom of association, which I believe is given to us by our 14th Amendment. That it's so important that it was listed first. And then guess what was listed right after that in our Second Amendment? The right to protect the First Amendment with the right to bear arms. And for somebody to shoot a man down in broad daylight as he's talking and having dialogue with college students is something that should make us all stop and think, what the heck is going on? Who out there thought that it was a good idea or that they had the right to take a man's life just because of what he believed and what he thought? It makes me sick to my stomach to think that somebody out there thought that it was okay to shut a man up. And for what? Because he had certain beliefs, but you don't like the fact that he was a Christian and that he believed that marriage was between one man and a woman, because he didn't support the idea of having sex outside of marriage, because he challenged Israel as potentially creating genocide in Gaza, the Gaza Strip, against the Palestinians. I mean, this is a guy who was very dynamic. He didn't just fall hard right, and he certainly wasn't a leftist, but he was willing to engage in dialogue. You know how many people are willing to do that? You know how many people are willing to put their life and health and their families on the line for what they believe, because they believe that it's so strongly that they think that it's imperative to have these ideas out there to make our country a better place, to turn things around in this country for the good. His good, the good that he believed, which a lot of people, including myself, with many of his ideas, believe would take the country into a better spot. You know, I'm doing this from my garage, and I have, obviously I have a bunch of junk back here, and, you know, my mom's got her dogs outside, and they're making a bunch of noise, so I apologize for that. It is what it is. So, and it's really hot in here. I'm like dying. I'm like sweating my balls off over here. Point is, though, people should be concerned with the fact, oh, there's my wife calling me. I'm going to pause that because I'm not done talking. I would put her on the thing, but I really wanted to post this. So anyway, people should be concerned about the fact that Charlie Kirk was murdered, because it's sending a message. It's sending a message to you, to me, to anybody who thinks that they're going to get on these airwaves and preach their truth, to go out there and, say what it is they believe. And it's a real thing, because there's been plenty of times when I get on this show, this podcast, the Dre B. Rambo show, and I think to myself, I don't want to say that because, somebody might try to come and murder me in my house. Someone might try to murder my children or something. Who knows what kind of wackos are out there? And there's a lot of wackos out there. There's a lot of wackos. Let me send my mom a text message, see if she'll take those dogs inside, because it's really starting to annoy me now. Oop. You can hear my mom. All right. There we go. Probably doesn't have her phone on her, but anyway. So that's number one. Number one thing that I think going on right now. I probably should do this later tonight when it's cooler. And, but whatever, I'm practicing. So fine. So another thing that happened is a woman was murdered on a train by a deranged man who was sitting behind her and stabbed her with a sharp object. I don't remember what it was. Could have been a screwdriver or something like that. But this woman from Ukraine got onto a bus or a train. I think it could have been a bus, and murdered this poor girl. And then, of course, it created racial tension or racial implication. There was racial implications because the man was black and had been in and out of prison, or in and out of jail and arrested 13 times or something like that. And this white woman who's from Ukraine came over with her family to escape, obviously, what's happening in Ukraine right now. the war that's happening over there with Ukraine and Russia. You know, it's just too many people. I'll do this again later.